Welcome everyone to another episode of Behind the Hive. So here's our box of Formic Pro. It has 30 doses in it, and they're all been taken out of their pouches, so they're all ready to be used. And so what we're going to do is go around behind each hive and set a dose on the hive covers that are set behind. So we just want to make sure we don't miss anybody. So we go and we just go up and down the rows putting out the doses. Okay, so we reached the point now where we're ready to put on the Formic Pro strips. On this particular hive stand, we've got two hives. One which we assume is normal and queen right. There was no abnormal behavior earlier when I was setting up the honey crop over the bee escape boards. But this one here, when I went to check, had no honey up. And then when I took a dive inside and it's gone drone layer. So because we want to make sure there's no mites from the environment, we're going to treat that hive as well. But we don't worry about saving the bees per se. So this is pre-treatment, and you can already see that there's quite a mat of dead bees. And this is from the colony under predation from wasps and other hives in the yard. So you can already see that it's sort of a center for robbing. And so what we're going to do is leave the entrance reducer on there because we want to essentially overdose it to get rid of any mites that are there. Eventually, when we're opening the feed drums, I'll transfer that onto a strong colony and they'll prep it for next spring's use as a source of pollen and feed going into the next year. And that'll go on hives in our 3+3+3 configuration come next April. So we'll start with this hive. As you can see, this was the bee escape board. Its entrance is fully open, and so puff of smoke. They're quite calm. When we peel this off, you'll see the population's pretty good. We know the queen's not on here, but because the queen excluder is still here. So we'll give a bit of smoke there, and we want all these bees not in the air, not around us. So we bang it off out front, the bees oriented to the entrance, and we bang it on the corner, not on the flat, because that's just minimum surface area for crushing any bees. So I just quick tap, and you can see that it comes up pretty clean. And then we just lean it against this side here, because it's available to us. That backspace has our hive covers and inner covers. So now we smoke this down a bit. We don't want the queen on there. We just find a corner. And of course they stick things down pretty well. Give that a little tap. You can see the bees, same thing. Sharp tap on the corner. Typically I'd only want to tap once, but again it comes up very clean of bees. Now the instructions say to place it on the top bars. So sometimes you have to scrape them down a little bit. We want to keep the wax off our boots. Plus every year I would get a couple 100 pounds just from wax scrapings. So we just scrape it down a little bit. The other thing we're just keeping an eye out for is any abnormal sounding behavior.
What's abnormal sounding?
Well, if there was what we call a roar, that might indicate that it's queenless. Sometimes a queen may have gotten up into a honey super. They may have already started noticing that, even though she was just above them in the bee escape board. And so those circumstances that you might want to pull a frame and take a quick look. But normally, as the directions say, do not disturb the colony. So you can see we're actually getting a nice little bit of burr comb coming off that. It does add up over the year. So now this has been prepped. Here's the dose of Formic Pro. You can simply grab it along what's called the fin seal. You peel that back, and then it just tears along the fin seal. No extra equipment required. Certainly you should have gloves. The dose is in 2 strips, and they just tear apart. And you lay it here. Now you want to lay it so it's fully across the hive, and the bees will move away from it. So if you just let it pause for a second. So right now it's sitting flat on the top bars. The foil, I just throw it in with the wax. I'll pick it out later. Here's the inner cover design that we use. It's got the built-in upper entrance, so it just faces the front. Then we put our queen excluder on. It stays with the hive. It also minimizes robbing, because typically they'll be a little bit sticky. So I just close it up within the hive so the whole yard doesn't get too excited. And that's it. They're closed up. Make sure it's forward, entrance fully open, and it's ready to go. So this is the difference between robbing and foraging when it comes to feeding is concerned. Because robbing is invading the neighbor's home, whereas open source feeding is just bees going out foraging. So we're just going to treat here like this. It's a drone layer, so we can even put the inner cover on upside down, because we want to optimize all the vapor we can get out as quickly as possible in that space. So what we're trying to do with this situation is simply, we're not worried about the health of the bees at all. We're simply trying to kill varroa. So basically we want the formic acid strips to gas off as quickly as possible. So we've created we didn't bother scraping down the top bars, because resting on the top bars stops some of the formic acid release as opposed to sitting on burr comb. So it's sitting up off the top bars, and then we put the inner cover on upside down just to create a cavity to get a great vapor bubble of formic acid to kill off any varroa that's in there. Because remember, this will go on to another hive, so we don't want to add varroa to a hive. And that's why we're not doing it today, because there's still varroa we need to take care of. And the entrance reducer is on, and it's even partially blocked by grass, so that it really contains that formic acid in here. So it becomes another tool that we're using for multiple purposes. We're sort of cleansing this environment. When I did check the frames, I made sure there was no American foul brood or any other risk elements to this colony, so that otherwise I would just shut it completely and take it for destruction. So we've had quite the day here. We've brought our feed in for winter. It's all ready to open up in about 3 weeks. We've taken off our honey crop, put it in the trailer, ready for processing, and we've treated for Formic Pro, all in one visit. I was very happy to be joined by all these eager and able hands to get everything done. Hopefully they've enjoyed their time here today. And as you can see, the yard looks a lot different now than when we got here. As you can see, there's a variety of responses. Some colonies show a lot of reaction to having the Formic Pro put on, other ones minimal. But over the next few hours, they'll get their affairs sorted out. We didn't take out a single frame. Everything is just neat and tidy. So we'll check them for their feed uptake come mid-October. And any colony that's not queen right, at that point we'll merge it with a queen right colony for preparing those frames for next year. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite people to say what their experience was like for them here, and maybe we can start with Tom.
Well, I mean, I always enjoy being in someone else's bee yard, because as beekeepers, we get used to our own system and our own methods and our own little quirks. So there's always, and what I find since my time at Nod is, no matter whose bee yard I go into, whether they're an experienced hobbyist or an experienced commercial beekeeper, I always learn something. It's like, and this is very efficient. I mean, I tend to do it in 2 steps. It's got me rethinking. Maybe I want to change the way I pull my honey. But this is a very efficient way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to agree with Tom. It's always probably one of my favorite aspects of what I do and working in the industry, and always learning from new other beekeepers, very experienced beekeepers, different way to do things. So I have a lot to bring back to North Carolina, and really excited to be here. And yeah, it's been good.
A lot of times we have the opportunity to only work solitary in the bee yard, but today we have a group, and it really adds up to the speed and the reduced labor hours. For us, Formic Pro, the application, very safe, easy to put on, and we as a team, we were able to go through this yard at such a rate that is unprecedented if we were to do it by ourselves. So we work together, we are putting our concentration on the health of the bees, and we've had a great afternoon and only a couple more yards to go, and we'll do it.